Welcome to Fame Factor. I'm your host, Sonia Lambert, and today we're diving deep into one of Hollywood's most fascinating and complex figures. Tom Cruise isn't just an actor, he's a cultural phenomenon, a walking contradiction, and perhaps the last true movie star in an age of franchise filmmaking. Over the next hour, we'll explore how a young man from Glen Ridge became the death defying, controversy courting, impossible mission accepting icon we know today. But here's the thing about Tom Cruise: nothing is quite what it seems. Behind that megawatt smile and those death defying stunts lies a star whose image is so layered, so deliberately constructed, and yet so genuinely committed to his craft that he defies easy categorization. So buckle up, because we're about to explore the many faces of Tom Cruise. Need a quick escape into pop culture and the icons who rewrote history? Scoob offers quick, addictive podcasts with captivating tales. Welcome to Scoob, your AI-powered podcast studio. With over 100,000 plus minutes of high-quality audio and a community of 50,000 plus listeners across the US. Love pop culture legends? Curious about cultural revolutions? Scoob's got you. Dive into the lives of famous and infamous celebrities like Tom Cruise, Roman Polanski, Michael Jackson, Coco Chanel, and many more. Be sure to follow and subscribe to Fame Factor for the latest episodes uncovering the untold stories and hidden sides of your favorite celebrities. Returning to the story of Tom Cruise, let's start at the beginning. Well, not quite the beginning, but the moment that truly launched Tom Cruise into orbit. Picture this: a young actor, uncertain about his future, standing in front of director Harold Becker for what would become the most important audition of his life. The year was 1981, and the film was Taps. During this pivotal audition, Becker asked Tom to pin up his hair so he could visualize what the young actor would look like as a shaved military cadet. It was a brief audition, leaving Tom unsure about the outcome. But when he returned home to Glen Ridge, his mother's beaming smile told him everything he needed to know. "You got taps!" she exclaimed. And in that moment, Tom Cruise's life changed forever. This wasn't just any role. It came with a substantial $50,000 paycheck that allowed him to repay an $850 loan from his stepfather. More importantly, it marked his initial foray into what would become a legendary Hollywood career. But here's where the story gets interesting. Tom almost didn't get the starring role he eventually played. Harold Becker had initially cast another actor, a promising young talent from a Shakespearean theater group in Tennessee, to play David Shawn, the intense military academy cadet who spirals into violence during a student rebellion. But this actor struggled with the role, unable to capture the boisterous war enthusiasm the character demanded. Becker noticed something special in Tom during the 45 days of boot camp training at Valley Forge Military Academy in Wayne, Pennsylvania. While the other young actors went through their military training, learning marching techniques, weapon handling, and military protocol, Tom stood out. He possessed what Becker described as 100% commitment. There was something about his confident strut across the parade ground, displaying a precision that typically took years to develop, that caught the director's eye. But here's what reveals Tom's character even at this early stage. When offered the bigger role, his primary concern wasn't for his own career advancement, but for the well-being of the actor originally cast as Shawn. This consideration for others, this sense of responsibility, would become a defining characteristic throughout his career. Tom understood the necessity of the casting change, but he wanted to ensure it was handled with dignity. Becker's philosophy during production was straightforward. The intense preparation would ensure the actors truly inhabited their characters, giving the film authenticity and believability. He even allowed Tom to watch the daily rushes, teaching him about the technical aspects of filmmaking. This early education in the mechanics of cinema would prove invaluable as Tom evolved from actor to producer to the kind of star who could influence every aspect of a film's creation. What's fascinating about Tom Cruise's early career is how it established a pattern that would define his entire filmography. He was always the student, always the trainee, always the young man learning to become something greater. This wasn't an accident. It was the foundation of his entire star persona. Look at his early roles: a trainee soldier in Taps, a budding entrepreneur in Risky Business, an aspiring football player in All the Right Moves, a trainee fighter pilot in Top Gun, a novice pool hustler in The Color of Money, a cocktail waiter in Training in Cocktail, and a newly minted lawyer in A Few Good Men. Even well into his career, in The Last Samurai, he's still playing a trainee, this time learning the ways of the samurai. This recurrent theme wasn't just about the roles he chose, it reflected something deeper about his approach to acting in life. Tom Cruise has always been someone who throws himself completely into learning new skills for his roles. But there's another element here that's crucial to understanding his appeal: his voice. Throughout much of his career, Cruise's high-pitched voice, quick-witted dialogue, and rapid delivery created an interesting dynamic. Compared to the silent or minimally speaking heroes like Stallone, Schwarzenegger, or even Matt Damon's Jason Bourne, Cruise's verbal dexterity stood out. His talking itself became a spectacle. He could mesmerize audiences and manipulate listeners through pure charisma. This led naturally to his frequent portrayal of salesmen. Think about it. In Cocktail, beyond mixing drinks, he delivers poetry performances at bars. In Rain Man, he sells luxury sports cars. As an attorney in A Few Good Men, he's essentially selling his case to a jury. In The Firm, he's a lawyer. In Jerry Maguire, a sports agent, and in Magnolia, a motivational coach delivering one of his most captivating verbal performances. But here's the key insight. In most of these roles, his excessive chatter signals internal turmoil. His journey typically involves channeling his verbal talents toward meaningful change, the hallmark of character maturity. Critics like Galen Studler observe that Cruise's characters often evolve from boyishness into authentic manliness, and his verbosity often hinted at vanity, expressing a duality between one's true self and projected identity. This duality, the salesman's paradox of being both authentic and performative, would become central to understanding Tom Cruise both as an actor and as a star. It's ironic that this allowed him to inhabit diverse roles while maintaining his inherent essence. Whether playing a lawyer, car salesman, or samurai, his roles continuously reflected themes of self-presentation and identity transformation. To truly understand Tom Cruise's impact on cinema, we need to examine the context in which his career flourished. The 1980s and 1990s were defined by the Cold War era, a period from 1948 to 1991 marked by nuclear tensions and competition between NATO allies and the Warsaw Pact. This era profoundly shaped the films that made Tom Cruise a star. Scholar Paul N. Edwards introduced the concept of the closed world, a structured, technology-driven existence shaped by Cold War influence. The storylines in films like Risky Business, Top Gun, Mission Impossible, and later Minority Report highlight a fascinating paradox. Technological advancements threatened humanity through potential nuclear conflict, but also elevated living standards significantly. This was the warfare state coexisting with the welfare state. Edwards emphasized the progressive melding of humans with computer technologies, artificial intelligence, and information processing during this period. Science fiction cinema of the 1970s and 1980s often portrayed a world torn by conflict and division, reflecting real-world geopolitical tensions. Tom Cruise's films became perfect vehicles for exploring these themes. In Top Gun, the portrayal of high-performance fighter jets and intense military camaraderie mirrors the era's military bravado, presenting an idealized vision of American power during the Cold War. The film doesn't just show fighter pilots, it shows the fantasy of technological superiority combined with individual heroism. By the 1990s, Mission Impossible introduced audiences to post-Cold War espionage, where cutting-edge technology and high-stakes missions reflected shifting dynamics in intelligence operations. Cruise's Ethan Hunt navigates a labyrinthine world of double crosses and covert operations, showcasing anxieties about surveillance and the nature of truth in a post-Cold War world. The culmination of these themes reached Minority Report, set in a future dominated by the pre-crime system that predicts crimes before they occur. This concept represents the ultimate closed-world scenario, where technology dictates moral and ethical decisions. Despite the high-concept sci-fi elements, these films explore fundamental human questions of agency and morality. What makes Cruise's performances in these films so compelling is how his characters wrestle with the tension between technological empowerment and human constraint. His protagonists often must reconcile their humanity within advanced systems that both enable and restrict their actions. The films advocate for understanding technology's dual role as both constraining and liberating force. In this context, Tom Cruise's characters can be seen as part cyborg figures, navigating and often triumphing over constraining systems. They reflect the complexities of living in a technologically advanced but potentially dehumanizing world. This thematic consistency across his filmography suggests a deeper engagement with the philosophical questions of his era. If there's one film that showcases Tom Cruise's willingness to completely subvert his established image, it's Oliver Stone's Born on the 4th of July. This film represents perhaps the most challenging role of his career, and one that deliberately deconstructed everything audiences thought they knew about Tom Cruise. Stone's intent was profound. He wanted to explore what would happen if fortune ceased to favor someone seemingly destined for success. The director saw compelling narrative potential in how a person's life can unravel following trauma, transforming an emblematic young man into someone who must endure suffering and atonement. From the film's opening, the cinematic techniques underscore the connection between Cruise's star persona and Ron Kovich's journey. The lighting and framing initially present Cruise's Kovich in a glamorous, heroic light, maintaining the allure of his youthful charm, reminiscent of Top Gun. But this presentation creates a deliberate tension. The audience is drawn to Cruise's appeal even as his character faces devastating transformation. One of the film's most powerful sequences illustrates this tension perfectly. We see the transition from a romantic prom dance with Donna, Kovich's college sweetheart, to the brutal landscape of Vietnam War. Initially reluctant to attend the prom, Kovich's prayerful contemplation under his bedroom cross propels him into a rain-soaked dash to the dance. The scene unfolds with classic romantic cinematography. Moon River, playing as the couple shares a passionate dance, embodying the quintessential happy ending of romantic comedies. But Stone uses elliptical editing to shift abruptly from this romantic fulfillment to Vietnam's violence. This stark contrast underscores the unforeseen interruption of Kovich's life, replacing romantic possibilities with war's grim reality. It's a broader commentary on the futility of war and its impact on personal dreams and societal expectations. The film's most challenging scene occurs at the Villa Duke, Village of the Sun, a refuge for Vietnam veterans. In an intimate encounter with Maria, a prostitute, the film uses red lighting to symbolically link Kovich's physical and emotional scars to the violence he experienced. Kovich, now embodying war's devastation, represents a complete transformation of Cruise's traditionally robust image into one of vulnerability and impotence. During this encounter, Kovich emotionally details his paralysis, cutting through any illusion of intimacy. As Maria performs her own arousal, the camera captures her in stark contrast to Kovich's emotional outpouring, highlighting his physical limitations and resulting anguish. Cruise's portrayal effectively communicates Kovich's disenchantment, a man once full of dreams, now haunted by past choices and war's harsh realities. This scene serves multiple purposes. It captures Kovich's personal tragedy while critiquing the broader myth of American heroism. It challenges the notion that war creates champions from young men. Cruise's nuanced portrayal, with his previously enchanting persona altered by tragedy, explores the very ethos of manhood in the context of war. Throughout his filmography, Cruise's characters frequently endure unfulfilling or thwarted heterosexual relationships. But Born on the 4th of July takes this theme to its logical extreme. The film crafts a poignant tale of lost innocence and the search for redemption amid past shadows, using Cruise's star image as both foundation and target for its critique. Now we come to perhaps the most defining aspect of modern Tom Cruise, his reputation as Hollywood's ultimate daredevil. But here's what's fascinating. The gap between perception and reality reveals everything about how star images are constructed and maintained. According to Scott Eastwood, who worked with Cruise on action sequences, there's a significant difference between Cruise's abilities and those of professional stunt performers. When Cruise trains for fight scenes, they often have to start with basics, highlighting the expertise gap between Hollywood stars and true professionals. Despite hundreds of hours of training, there are limitations to what any actor can achieve in the time constraints of film production. Take the high-altitude, low-opening HALO skydiving sequence from Mission Impossible Fallout. Though Cruise executed several hundred jumps, the sequence typically demanded experience equivalent to around 10,000 jumps. What was initially estimated to take a week extended to a month of filming. Eastwood pointed out that it's unrealistic to expect Cruise to attain the skill level of a professional motorbike rider due to time constraints, underscoring the gap between aspiration and professional expertise. Yet this gap is precisely what makes Cruise's stunt work so compelling from a star image perspective. Director Christopher McQuarrie captured this perfectly when he said about Cruise's stunts in Fallout, "There aren't any rules. We're just with him for the ride." Owen Gleiberman compared Cruise's efforts to P.T. Barnum, describing him as a showman enticing audiences with thrilling spectacles. The media coverage often emphasizes the seemingly perilous aspects, while overlooking the extensive preparation by professional stunt teams. For Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Cruise's scaling of 123 stories of the world's tallest building appears astonishing, especially when relying on a cable no thicker than piano wire. But these descriptions focus on danger while downplaying the meticulous safety preparations. Cruise himself embraces and amplifies his daredevil image. Reflecting on a stunt for The Mummy, he exaggeratedly claimed they performed it without extensive preparation, emphasizing its wild nature. While these comments enhance his entertainer persona, they deliberately downplay the careful planning by experienced stunt teams. This approach aligns with what scholar Meta Yort calls flamboyant risk-taking, incorporating risks into films as integral parts of the artistic presentation. Though Yort's framework originally applied to documentaries, it perfectly contextualizes how Cruise's films present risk as both spectacle and authenticity marker. Tom Cruise purposefully publicizes his calculated risks as part of his star persona, imbuing his work with authenticity and daring adventure that audiences anticipate. This strategic presentation distinguishes him in the industry, building intense connections between his film's cinematic imagery and the reality of his physical contributions. But there's something deeper happening here. Martin's concept of risk-taking being commendable for stunt performers takes on new meaning with Cruise. He reevaluates risk-taking as entertainment medium beyond professional rigor. His stardom aligns with what Yvonne Tasker describes as military masculinity, merging duty, performance, and commitment to delivering stunt spectacles for audience enjoyment. Curious about the moments when passion, drive, and creativity collide? Scoob dives deep into the lives of cultural icons like Tom Cruise, Stanley Kubrick, David Bowie, and more. We don't just share stories, we break them down, layer by layer. With more than 100,000 minutes of captivating audio and a loyal community of 50,000 plus listeners, our AI-powered podcast studio uncovers the defining moments that shape, and sometimes shake, fame. Returning to Tom Cruise's story, let's explore how he maintained authenticity through aging. As Tom Cruise aged, his commitment to stunt work took on new dimensions that reveal profound anxieties about authenticity, masculinity, and the nature of stardom itself. His recent films, particularly the Mission Impossible series and The Mummy, provide fascinating insights into how an aging action star maintains relevance in a youth-obsessed industry. Unlike other notable male action stars who experienced career revivals in recent years, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and Neeson, all in their mid-50s to 70s, Cruise's approach sets him apart. These actors benefited from industry trends favoring sequels and franchises, which supported the reemergence of aged action heroes. But their action spectacles shifted focus from idealized, muscled bodies to oversized weaponry, fetishized vehicles, and often digital recreations of their younger selves. Cruise chose a different path entirely. His approach is influenced partly by Scientology ideology, which encourages transcending bodily limitations, something Cruise embodies through his relentless pursuit of physical challenges. But there's more to it than ideology. There's genuine anxiety about aging that manifests as tension with time's inevitability, rather than simple defiance. Richard Dyer's concept of authenticity in stardom becomes crucial here. A star's image must be founded on authenticity rhetoric, a guarantee that their public persona aligns with reality. For Cruise, authenticity hasn't rested on alignment between public and private selves, but on the tangible authenticity of his physically performed body. In his earlier films from the 1980s and 1990s, as Galen Studler analyzed, Cruise's characters often transition from artificial masculinity portrayals to more authentic ones. However, this masculinity was perceived as exhibitionist, centered around appealing physicality and constructed performativity. Through his shift to action genres, Cruise aligned authenticity with his ability to perform stunts, framing his ongoing stunt work within cultural narratives focusing on this transition. The spectacular representation of Cruise, as described by Paul MacDonald, gains particular significance when showcasing star appeal from marketing campaigns to narrative introductions in films. The spectacle associated with Cruise becomes a fusion of star image, film franchise, and genre, all converging to emphasize stunt performance. As Manohla Dargis observed, Cruise's portrayal in daring sequences like free climbing in Mission Impossible Terre stands as testament to the real in an age of persuasive digital effects. Ruth O'Donnell noted a late 2000s shift from highlighting the eroticism of Cruise's mature physique to focusing on stunt-driven set pieces, affirming his persistent physical capability. Owen Gleiberman stated that Cruise's dedication to performing stunts not only defines his star image, but imbues his films with cathartic integrity, resisting the erosion of traditional movie stardom. In a time when star-powered films seem declining, Cruise's stunt work symbolizes undiminished authenticity, reinforced by widespread digital media narratives echoing his prowess. This emphasis can be traced to his career's earlier trajectory change with Mission Impossible 2. Jacob Smith argued that glorifying stuntmen in 1970s American cinema attempted to remasculinize American male cultural identity amid perceived crises like declining studio power and societal shifts from civil rights movements and Vietnam War. Initially, Cruise's pivot correlated to anxieties an aspiring action star might face. To be recognized as credible, he had to authentically perform stunts, a progression akin to what Lisa Peirce identifies in action films as becoming narratives, depicting protagonists' journeys toward fully embodying heroic action personas. This commitment is intertwined with long-standing complexities of Cruise's on-screen masculinity. Male film stars are often visually scrutinized and objectified, casting them as vulnerable spectacles to be admired. O'Donnell noted that early Cruise roles often positioned him within spaces of sexualized spectacle, typically reserved for female Hollywood stars. Stunt doubles threatened to demasculinize male stars' constructed images, presenting doubles as structuring others, allowing male stars to function. Through increased focus on stunts and action spectacle, Cruise offers response to feminized spectacle from his career's beginning, aligning with masculinity performance that embraces vulnerability while demonstrating physical and professional authenticity. Tom Cruise's evolution from actor to franchise star represents one of the most successful transformations in modern Hollywood. His role transcends traditional acting, evolving into what can only be described as a comprehensive brand characterized by action genre spectacle, prominent star persona, and industrial legal ownership paralleling Hollywood's most emblematic franchise properties. Since 1993, when Cruise established Cruise at Wagner Productions with casting agent Paula Wagner, he's wielded unprecedented control over his cinematic ventures. The company produced the initial Mission Impossible trilogy, alongside many other Cruise-led projects. Though Cruise Wagner Productions ceased operating in its original form after Wagner's departure in 2008, Cruise retained producer credits across the Mission Impossible franchise, ensuring executive oversight that enables him to influence both story world evolution and his stardom's integration with franchise brands. P. David Marshall highlighted this intricate relationship between star branding and corporate structure, using Cruise as an illustrative example. According to Marshall, Cruise's agency, production company, and film producers craft a coherent image aligned with each film's release. Thus, Cruise becomes both encapsulated in the film's narrative package and serves as the package capturing media attention, drawing interest toward the film. Through his dual role as actor-producer, Cruise integrates star power into the production process, enabling cinematic ventures that maintain brand consistency across different narrative and genre landscapes. This intertwined role allows him to create experiences that resonate both in character depth and alignment with his broader star persona. In the Mission Impossible series, Cruise's role as Ethan Hunt exemplifies successful star vehicle utilization, leveraging his established brand to enhance narrative and genre significance. The character was designed specifically for him within the established spy thriller universe, allowing for seamless integration of his star persona with franchise requirements. Contrastingly, his involvement in The Mummy proved less effective, overshadowing narrative development and stifling the Dark Universe franchise's potential longevity. Critics pointed out how Cruise's presence diverted focus from developing the story world to serving his image, resulting in a lackluster blend of familiar elements from his persona grafted onto a monster movie. This demonstrates how star brands can sometimes cloud story development, indicating that neither the stardom system nor franchise system can operate optimally in all circumstances. The convergence of stardom with franchise elements creates constant challenges in managing potentially controversial aspects of personal life, high-profile relationships, contentious remarks on psychological issues, and ties to Scientology, within performances of established franchise roles. According to Peter von Stackelberg, contemporary franchise production marked a transition from character-centric to story-world-centric transmedia. Cruise's portrayals in Mission Impossible and The Mummy involve characters designed specifically for him within established story world universes, opening nuanced perspectives on star power influence within franchise systems. Cruise's contribution can be examined through three lenses: actor-producer, trademark, and brand world. This spotlight reveals the intricate balance between stardom and story world evolution within specific franchises. His status as actor-producer amplifies industrial significance in franchise filmmaking, while his executive authority enables thoughtful brand management across multiple franchises. The focus on story world development provides opportunities to scrutinize how Cruise's involvement as both actor and producer affects dynamic interplay between his personal brand and franchise story worlds. This unique position in Hollywood's constellation demonstrates strategic creative development in managing franchise stardom effectively. Tom Cruise's cinematic characters often embody America's complex relationship with global threats and domestic anxieties. His roles as Jack Reacher and Ethan Hunt represent more than entertainment. They're psychological landscapes where American ideology confronts its own contradictions. Frequently, Cruise's on-screen personas exist at the peripheries of regulations and structures that build society's symbolic order. Concepts like fatherhood, marriage, and domestic life. His characters operate beyond societal laws and expectations to preserve America's safety and utopian ideals. In Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, his character leverages intricate understanding of military operations to liberate Major Susan Turner from unjust incarceration and expose conspiracy within military ranks. Similarly, as Ethan Hunt, Cruise's persona traverses national borders and infringes on global sovereignties, driven by imperatives to safeguard America from looming terror organizations. These narratives consistently end with reestablishment of the real to its rightful place, following tumultuous encounters with mortality. This theme is doubled by Cruise's notorious penchant for performing his own stunts, subjecting him to genuine peril, like dangling from helicopters. This element of danger is palpable, both within narrative text and beyond. Simon Pegg, who features as Benji Dunn in the Mission Impossible franchise, revealed in a 2018 interview that there's underlying meta-commentary in his on-screen trepidation, mirroring cast and crew's real-life apprehensions, watching crews undertake daring stunts. Philosopher Slavoj Žižek's concepts help explain how Cruise emerges as a larger-than-life figure, embodying fantasies that bolster reality. This phenomenon blurs boundaries between Cruise's on-screen characters and real-life persona, facilitating seamless cinematic narrative operation while reinstating equilibrium. Audiences find solace in assurance that Tom Cruise, as Ethan Hunt, is capable of averting catastrophe, truly a mission impossible. Within the Mission Impossible series, Ethan Hunt's narrative specifically calls upon him to forsake attachments subordinate to symbolic order, marriage, and everyday life, to recurrently face formidable adversaries often covertly assisted by his own government. Hunt encapsulates the American ideological state, representing a state of exception in relentless battles against terrorism, waging perpetual war against ever-present threats to American security. In Mission Impossible, Fallout, Ethan confronts the real through a dream sequence revealing traumatic truth. He envisions himself with ex-wife Julia on a tranquil beach where terrorist Solomon Lane officiates their union. Ethan's awareness of the dream's surrealism underscores implicit understanding of personal costs, burdening Julia due to their connection, with Lane's vows alluding to conflation of matrimonial and mortuary rites. As Julia gazes lovingly upon Ethan, despite imminent danger his association imposes, nuclear explosion obliterates the serene imagery. This cataclysmic event rouses Ethan from sleep, prompting him to answer persistent knocking heralding another daunting mission. Allegorical representation of life as continual, impossible mission. The films encode deeper meaning, reflecting on Ethan Hunt's true mission, his reabsorption into America's cultural and social milieu, an impossibility given dangers he faces. The dream of picturesque wedding, intruded by nuclear horror, prefigures impending threats Ethan must heroically neutralize. Subsequent missions are delivered within copies of Homer's The Odyssey, evocatively linking filmmaking essence with human odyssey. Ethan's Greek heroic journey, void of marital and familial constraints, enables him to embrace roles as relentless combatant akin to Achilles. Yet Ethan's deep-seated desires parallel America's overarching ambition to eradicate threats globally, emphasizing national border permeability against his exploits. Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut represents perhaps the most fascinating examination of Tom Cruise's star image, a deliberate deconstruction that reveals the constructed nature of cinematic masculinity and desire. Upon its 1999 release, the film garnered polarizing reception, with many critiquing it as slow, unnecessarily prolonged, and pretentiously dull. But this discomfort was precisely Kubrick's intention. The film's strategy involves disrupting audience pleasure by thwarting emotional and erotic engagement with the narrative world. This deliberate alienation is achieved through techniques that divert focus from plot, prompting viewers to reflect on their own roles and the nature of their desires. Eyes Wide Shut becomes self-reflexive, inviting audiences to confront voyeuristic tendencies by highlighting cinematic devices, emphasizing their artificiality, and drawing attention to cinema's mechanics. Crucial to this approach is the use of Tom Cruise's star image to undermine the film's supposed eroticism. Cruise portrays Dr. Bill Harford, a successful, attractive New York doctor married to Alice, played by real-life wife Nicole Kidman. Driven by fantasy involving his wife and a naval officer, Bill embarks on a faltering journey seeking extramarital sexual opportunities, each ending in frustration. The narrative deliberately allows audiences to experience the same frustration as the protagonist. As Bill's sexual pursuits meet rejection, voyeuristic and erotic expectations are systematically thwarted. The film encourages investment in Cruise's renowned star image. Energy, youthful vitality, success, heroism, combined with indefinable charm transcending physical attractiveness, but also his ordinariness, representing the average white male with everyman quality. Eyes Wide Shut plays with this duality, initially elevating Cruise's extraordinariness only to deconstruct it, exposing his cinematic persona's fabricated nature. Dr. Bill Harford's belief in his uniqueness connects directly to Tom Cruise's star persona, typically embodying idealized, all-American winner tropes. Despite enriching characters he usually portrays, Bill Harford's psychological and sexual journey systematically dismantles Cruise's cultivated image. Interestingly, while Hollywood carefully shapes Cruise's height to contribute to his overwhelming star image, Eyes Wide Shut boldly presents him at actual height, challenging this carefully curated aspect. This decision breaks down dualistic depiction associated with his star image, heightening the film's reality semblance, while underscoring Bill Harford's disproportionate attempts to engage society he believes he controls. However, sexual and symbolic failures he encounters unravel myths surrounding Cruise's screen persona, characterized by perceptions and fantasies about his masculinity and sexual charm. Due to his extensive body of work, these fantasies are tightly entwined with Cruise's real-life presence, rendering complete separation difficult, if not impossible. The film emphasizes Bill's ordinariness and impotence, both literally and metaphorically, forcing audiences to address the constructedness of his extraordinary image. Cruise's star image, crafted through films, advertising, marketing, media interviews, and commentary, is polysemic, richly layered with complexity and contradiction. Historically portrayed as exemplifying success and traditional masculinity, Cruise embodies ideal heroic heterosexual all-American male known for integrity and honesty. Despite this portrayal, speculation and public discourse have long questioned his heterosexual virility, referencing marriages, adoption of children, and biological relationships, thereby contesting and complicating his normative masculine image. By casting real-life couple Cruise and Kidman as central figures, the film enriches authenticity of family romance scenarios it explores. Their off-screen relationship, frequently rumored to be complex, lent extra realism to on-screen marital struggles. The film marks distinct departure from Cruise's previous roles, where he'd often been distant from domesticity sphere. Scholars like Kryn Gabbard noted difficulty envisioning Cruise depicting monogamous family men based on his cinematic history. Dr. Bill Harford is distinguished by his socioeconomic position, represented as affluent, educated, and culturally sophisticated. The film uses this foundation to depict stable yet monotonous family life, contrasting routine of Bill's medical profession with Alice's home life. Eyes Wide Shut utilizes Tom Cruise's cinematic persona to create experiences relying on intentional disenchantment of his star image, challenging both narrative conventions and audience expectations. This effect is achieved by framing themes of desire, control, and illusion within complex, multi-layered storytelling, leaving audiences with unsettling but deliberate reflections on voyeurism and identity. When we examine Tom Cruise's star persona through the lens of desire and spectatorship, we encounter one of cinema's most complex and contradictory figures. The act of observing and appreciating his image becomes vitally significant across films, promotional materials, magazine spreads, television interviews, and media that enhance his star presence. Tom Cruise's visual portrayal invites audiences to engage with him through close-up intimacy, high-energy action sequences, and depictions during diverse activities, running, smiling, eating, expressing emotions. He's presented in moments of stillness and reflection, and through subversive elements that playfully critique and exaggerate his image, enhancing its sexual allure. Gazing at Tom Cruise frequently serves to affirm his standing as heterosexual, quintessential Hollywood heartthrob, and white heroic American figure. However, this focused attention invariably weaves in elements of complex desire. Over time, his star image has evolved, and while observing him, one perceives hints of exaggerated emotional displays, artificiality, and potential queer undertones. Cruise dwells in challenging domains regarding desire and desirability. He embodies masculine ideals, yet his allure is ambiguous and not immediately identifiable, inviting interpretations of gender fluidity and queer longings. As Alex Doty described, Cruise can inhabit queer space, resonating with audiences already aligning with queer identities, and allowing individuals who consider themselves heterosexual to explore latent queer inclinations. Observing Tom Cruise in cinematic scenarios introduces intrinsic tension regarding how one perceives his desirability, particularly in narratives dominated by male camaraderie typical of action and romance films. These gazing experiences are nuanced by external narratives and discussions that subtly or overtly introduce queer interpretations. Galen Studler observed overlap between portrayal of Cruise's appeal, swinging from homoerotic to heteroerotic within films, and external fan narratives casting him as object of gay desire, supported by media hints about his sexual orientation. There's nothing straightforward about viewing Tom Cruise, and this complexity reveals itself across his landmark films. In Top Gun, the film serves hyperbolic imagery emphasizing Cruise's hypermasculine and heterosexual characteristics, yet simultaneously offers homoerotic male interactions rich with intense homosocial energy. Despite intentions, these elements challenge the heterosexual storyline the film presumably conveys. Jerry Maguire positions Cruise's character within romantic comedy paradigms to consolidate his desirability and heterosexual appeal. Nevertheless, through overtly exaggerated, racially infused gestures, it reshapes desired relations, predominantly unveiling deep-set bonds between two men of different races. In Born on the 4th of July, Cruise's depiction of disabled Vietnam veteran is intentionally designed to subvert desirability. However, the film draws on his well-maintained youthful image, leveraging it to contrast against disability portrayal, suggesting haunting essence. This delivers twisted viewing experiences, evoking unique desire types that play into queer aspects at his star image's heart. His ability to avoid physical threat throughout much of his career is complemented by verbal dexterity. Compared to silent heroes of conventional masculinity, Cruise's verbal skill links to both mesmerizing audiences and manipulating listeners. This verbosity often signals deeper internal turmoil, with his journey involving channeling verbal talents toward meaningful change. The concept of role play is pronounced in his recurrent portrayal as Trainee. This theme underlines transformative journeys his characters typically embark upon, mirroring the development and multifaceted nature of his own acting persona. Ironically, this allows him to inhabit diverse roles while maintaining inherent essence, roles continuously reflecting themes of self-presentation and identity transformation. Together, these films underscore multifaceted perceptions and emotional responses associated with gazing at Tom Cruise, emphasizing both traditional and subversive narratives that shape his overarching star image. The complexity of his persona resists easy categorization, making him a uniquely compelling figure in contemporary cinema. As we near the end of our exploration, it's worth examining one particularly revealing moment in Tom Cruise's career that didn't achieve the success many expected: his role in The Color of Money, where he portrayed a boxer. This film stands out because it departed from traits typically associated with his screen persona, and its relative lack of success illuminates the boundaries of his star image. In this boxing role, Cruise was challenged by the harsh realities of the ring, a stark contrast to his usual characters, who manage to sidestep direct physical danger through skill and cunning. Throughout most of his career, with notable exception of Born on the 4th of July, Cruise's characters avoided direct physical confrontation through intelligence, charm, and agility, rather than brute force. This pattern reveals something profound about his star persona. He represents a particular kind of American masculinity that values intelligence over strength, charm over intimidation, and strategic thinking over direct confrontation. Even when performing death-defying stunts in recent years, the appeal isn't in watching him absorb punishment, but in witnessing his precision, preparation, and technical mastery. This distinction becomes crucial when understanding his evolution from the 1980s trainee roles to today's action sequences. His journey hasn't been about becoming physically tougher in a traditional sense, but about demonstrating increasing competence, control, and professional mastery. His stunts aren't displays of tolerance for pain, but exhibitions of skill, preparation, and commitment to craft. The transformation is particularly evident around Vanilla Sky, 2001, where his characters began to change. The Last Samurai represents the culmination of this evolution. His character Nathan Algren transitions from drunken ex-soldier selling rifles to adopting calm, studied ways of a samurai. His verbosity gives way to contemplative action, expressing the duality between projected identity and true self. But here's what's fascinating about this evolution. It mirrors broader changes in American masculinity and heroism during the post-Cold War period. As traditional markers of masculine achievement, military service, physical labor, clear moral frameworks became less relevant to contemporary life. Cruise's characters began embodying different values: adaptability, continuous learning, technological competence, and emotional intelligence. His role as Ethan Hunt exemplifies this new masculinity. Hunt succeeds not through superior firepower or physical dominance, but through intelligence, teamwork, technological mastery, and willingness to sacrifice personal happiness for greater good. He represents American idealism, operating in a complex, morally ambiguous world where traditional heroic frameworks no longer suffice. This evolution explains why Cruise's stunt work has become so crucial to his image. In an era where digital effects can create any visual spectacle, his physical commitment provides the authenticity that grounds his character's extraordinary achievements. The stunts aren't just spectacle, they're proof of the dedication and sacrifice required for heroism in the contemporary world. His producer role amplifies this effect. By controlling both the creative and business aspects of his films, Cruise ensures that his star image remains consistent with his personal values and professional standards. This level of control allows him to craft experiences that resonate both as entertainment and as expressions of his evolving understanding of heroism and masculinity. The result is a star image that has successfully navigated 4 decades of changing cultural expectations while maintaining core appeal. From the ambitious trainee of the 1980s to the death-defying action star of today, Tom Cruise has continuously reinvented himself while preserving essential elements that make him recognizable and compelling. From blockbuster hits to daring stunts, Tom Cruise's journey is more than just Hollywood fame. It's about relentless dedication, pushing limits, and redefining what's possible. At Scoob, we don't just celebrate stars. We uncover the lessons behind their success, as well as the scandals that define their legacy. With 100,000 plus minutes of gripping storytelling and a vibrant community of over 50,000 listeners, Scoop brings stories that reveal the real lives behind the biggest celebrities. Tune in anytime, anywhere, only at Scoob. No filler, just bold narratives about the stars you love. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to Fame Factor for the latest episodes uncovering the untold stories and hidden sides of your favorite celebrities. Now, as we reach the end of our deep dive into the Tom Cruise phenomenon, what emerges is a picture of unprecedented complexity. Here is an actor who has spent 4 decades in the public eye, evolving from fresh-faced trainee to death-defying action star, from heartthrob to producer, from cultural icon to controversial figure, all while maintaining his position as one of cinema's most bankable stars. The contradictions are striking. He's simultaneously authentic and artificial, accessible and remote, traditional and subversive. His films promote both American exceptionalism and critique American overreach. His star image embodies both heterosexual idealism and queer possibility. He represents both technological optimism and anxiety about dehumanization. Perhaps this is precisely why Tom Cruise endures. In an era of increasing polarization and rigid categorization, he occupies a space that resists easy definition. His commitment to his craft is undeniable. The hours of training, the genuine physical risks, the meticulous preparation for each role. Yet his public persona remains carefully constructed, managed through decades of strategic choices and corporate control. His evolution from the uncertain young actor who nervously auditioned for taps to the global superstar who hangs from helicopters for Mission Impossible represents more than personal growth. It mirrors broader changes in American culture, masculinity, and the nature of stardom itself. His journey from trainee to master, from performer to producer, from actor to franchise, charts the transformation of Hollywood from studio system to corporate entertainment complex. The question of authenticity that runs through his career, from Kubrick's deconstruction in Eyes Wide Shut to his stunt work providing tangible proof of commitment, reflects deeper questions about identity and performance in contemporary life. In an era where the line between public and private, real and artificial, has become increasingly blurred, Tom Cruise's carefully maintained yet genuinely committed persona offers both comfort and uncertainty. His films from Top Gun to Mission Impossible, from Born on the 4th of July to Jerry Maguire, create a body of work that functions as cultural mirror, reflecting American anxieties and aspirations across different decades. The Cold War tensions of his early films gave way to post-9/11 themes of surveillance and terrorism, while his personal evolution from romantic lead to action star parallels broader shifts in cultural definitions of heroism and masculinity. What makes Tom Cruise truly fascinating is how he embodies the contradictions of contemporary stardom. He's both product and producer, performer and brand, individual and corporation. His success stems not from resolving these contradictions, but from inhabiting them fully, creating a star image that can accommodate multiple interpretations and remain compelling across different demographic groups and cultural contexts. The Tom Cruise enigma isn't a puzzle to be solved, but a phenomenon to be appreciated for its complexity. In an entertainment landscape increasingly dominated by franchises, digital effects, and corporate oversight, he represents something that feels increasingly rare. A star whose personal commitment and physical presence still matter, whose individual choices can determine a film's success or failure. Whether that makes him the last movie star or the first of a new kind remains to be seen. But after 4 decades of watching Tom Cruise run, jump, climb, fly, and reinvent himself on screen, one thing is certain. He continues to surprise us, challenge us, and remind us why the movies still have the power to make us believe in impossible missions. The enigma endures, and so does our fascination with it. In Tom Cruise, we see reflected our own relationships with ambition, authenticity, aging, and the American dream. He remains, as he has always been, simultaneously ordinary and extraordinary, the ultimate movie star paradox in human form.